My family ignored me for 31 days while doctors fought to keep me alive. 1 month later, my mother remembered exactly when my savings matured and demanded $12,000 for my sister's wedding dress. I could have screamed. Instead, I sent $1 with 2 words, "Good luck." But that tiny payment uncovered a lie about my hospital stay that changed everything. The text arrived at 8:17 on a Sunday morning. "We need $12,000 for your sister's wedding dress. The boutique needs the balance by Friday. You've always been the one this family can count on." I read it from the recliner where I had been sleeping because my incision hurt too much for me to lie flat. My mother had found time to ask for $12,000, but during the 31 days I spent fighting for my life, she had not found time to sit beside me once. Not once. I read the message again. Then I laughed without humor. There was no question about my recovery, no apology, no mention of the hospital, just the dress, the deadline, and the sentence about being the one everyone could count on. In my family, count on had always meant the same thing. Pay for it. Fix it. Make sure nobody else felt uncomfortable. My mother knew that a certificate of deposit had matured the week before. I had mentioned it months earlier, when sharing details with family felt harmless. She remembered the money, she had not remembered the floor where I nearly died. I opened a reply and began typing. I wrote about the empty chair beside my hospital bed. I wrote about the nights I woke up frightened and alone. I wrote about the ride home, the dead plants, and how no one checked whether I had food. The message grew longer. So did the old feeling that told me I had to explain enough, gently enough, until they admitted I had a right to be hurt. Then I deleted every word. An explanation is something you give to people who might care enough to understand it. My family had already given me their answer. I opened my banking app. For most of my life, I had stepped in before anyone asked. Twice I paid bills, covered emergencies, and smoothed over conflicts I did not create. That woman would have sent the money, then cried alone afterward. I was not that woman anymore. I entered $1. In the memo line, I typed 2 words, "Good luck." Then I pressed send. The room stayed still. Sunlight touched the coffee table. The refrigerator hummed. I felt no triumph. Only a quiet release, like setting down a heavy bag I had carried so long I had forgotten it was there. My phone rang. "Mom." I turned it face down. It rang again, then again. Each vibration moved it across the table, warning me that the storm had started. I used to think maturity meant forgiving family no matter what they did. Later, I learned that sometimes maturity means refusing to give people another chance to use you. By the 11th call, I did not know they had lied to the family about me. I only knew the empty chair beside my hospital bed had changed me, and this time they would not use the word family to make me silent. I had to sleep in that recliner because the incision still pulled whenever I tried to lie flat. That scar began on a morning when I planned to make coffee and go to work like any other day. I remember the coffee maker clicking on. I remember reaching for a mug. Then a sharp pain struck low in my abdomen. At first, I thought it was a cramp. Within seconds, it spread across my stomach. My knees gave out, cold sweat ran down my neck, and I could not pull enough air into my lungs to call for help. I reached my phone on the floor and dialed emergency services. The paramedics moved fast. One cut open my shirt to place the heart monitors. Another asked questions while I stared at the kitchen ceiling, trying not to pass out. At the hospital, the test showed that part of my intestine had ruptured from undiagnosed diverticulitis. Infection had spread through my abdomen. The doctor spoke gently, but he did not soften the truth. I did not have days to consider surgery. I had hours. I had spent most of my adult life keeping everything under control. I managed the books for a construction company. I paid bills before they were due. I kept emergency contacts in my phone. I was usually the person driving someone else to the hospital. That morning, the list of names felt almost useless. I called my mother first. "Mom, I'm scared. They're taking me into surgery." There was a pause. Then she said, "Keep me posted, honey." I heard a car door close behind her. She said she was taking my sister to a wedding fitting. My father answered with a game in the background. After I explained what the doctor had said, he told me to let them know how it turned out. Before the call ended, I heard him ask my mother if she wanted something to eat for the drive. I texted my sister, "Emergency surgery. Please call me." The message showed as read. No call came. A nurse helped me remove my ring and placed my phone in a clear plastic bag. Then she handed me the consent forms. My hand shook so badly that my signature barely looked like mine. I had spent most of my life being reliable. What no one tells you is that a person can become so useful that her family forgets she may need saving too. Before they wheeled me away, the nurse asked who would be waiting in the family room. I looked at my silent phone. "They're probably on their way," I said. After surgery, I woke with a raw throat and heavy pain beneath the bandages. I turned toward the chair beside my bed. It was empty. I told myself they were only late. I did not know that chair would stay untouched for nearly 5 weeks. The first night after surgery, I kept waking to the same sounds. The monitor beside me gave a steady beep. Carts rolled past. Elevator doors opened beyond the nurse's station. Often rubber-soled shoes passed my room, and each time I turned toward the door. On that first day, my throat was raw from the breathing tube. Speaking felt like dragging words across sandpaper. When the nurse checked my blood pressure, I asked whether anyone had called. She checked the chart. No one had. I told myself my mother was afraid of hospitals. My father did not understand how serious the surgery had been. My sister was overwhelmed with wedding plans. Maybe tomorrow, I thought. On the third day, my mother sent a text. "Hope you're feeling better." There was a smiling face at the end. She did not ask what floor I was on. She did not ask what the doctor had said. She did not ask whether I needed food, clothes, or company. On the 5th day, my father finally wrote. He wanted to know whether I still had his old lawnmower. On the 7th day, my sister sent her first message since surgery. She asked whether I had seen her AirPods case in my car. That was all. Across the hall, a woman had friends bringing soup and magazines. Next door, an older man's grandchildren taped drawings to his wall until it looked like an art gallery. The chair beside my bed remained untouched. The vinyl was so smooth it had not formed a single crease. A hospital social worker came by with a discharge form. She asked who could stay with me when I went home. I started to give her my mother's name. Then I stopped. My mother did not even know the name of the hospital. I crossed the line out. "I'll arrange something," I said. People who spend their lives being dependable often do that. We would rather pretend we need no one than admit no one is coming. Denise, an older nurse, began leaving an extra pudding cup on my tray. One afternoon, she set it beside my water and said, "Somebody ought to spoil you a little." I turned toward the window before she could see me cry. Hope does not always save us. Sometimes it only extends the time we allow people to disappoint us. That evening, the doctor said my fever was rising and my inflammation numbers were worse. There might be another procedure. I called my mother. The call went straight to voicemail. "Mom, the doctors are worried. I don't need you to fix anything. I just don't want to be alone tonight. Before I tell you what happened that night, let me know in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it there?" I always find it remarkable how a story can reach people in so many different places at the same moment. My mother never returned the voicemail. By midnight, the fever had climbed high enough that the sheets felt damp beneath me. I drifted in and out while nurses checked my blood pressure, changed the fluids above my bed, and spoke in careful voices near the door. Just before dawn, the doctor came in with new scan results. An abscess had formed near the surgical site, and there was concern about a leak. He said they needed to take me back for another procedure before the infection spread further. I remember staring at his face and trying to understand the words. What I understood was simpler. I might not wake up. Denise asked whether there was anyone she should call. I gave her my mother's number first. No answer. She tried my father. The call rang until voicemail picked up. My sister's phone sent an automatic reply saying she was at an appointment with a wedding vendor and would respond later. Denise looked at me, then at the silent phone in her hand. She did not say what we were both thinking. While they prepared me, old memories came back in pieces. I remembered sleeping in a stiff hospital chair for 3 nights when my father had knee surgery. I remembered driving my mother to eye appointments every Tuesday for nearly 2 months. I remembered canceling a weekend trip so I could help my sister move after her first divorce. I did not need them to repay every favor. I needed one person in the waiting room. One person who could tell the doctor that, if I woke up, I would not wake up alone. The procedure passed in a blur. When I opened my eyes again, Carol was sitting beside me. She had brought homemade soup, 3 paperback novels, and a soft gray sweater, because hospital rooms were always cold. For a few minutes, I felt like myself again. Carol touched my hand and said she could only stay a little while. I don't want to disrupt the visiting schedule your aunt arranged. I was too weak to question it. I assumed she was being polite. She assumed my parents and sister were coming on the days she was not there. Neither of us understood what that sentence would mean later. After Carol left, footsteps passed my room again. For the first time, I did not turn my head. Denise noticed. "You stopped watching the door," she said. I finally learned who wasn't coming through it. Something in me became quieter after that, not peaceful, just tired of inventing excuses for people who had not asked for them. That night, I looked at the empty chair and understood something I had resisted for days. Maybe they were not late. Maybe they had chosen not to come. By the 3rd week, I stopped waiting and started counting. I counted the days first. 21, 22, 23. I wrote each number on the back of the hospital menu with a blue pen Denise found for me. Beside the dates, I made smaller notes. 2 messages from my father. A handful from my mother. No real phone call from my sister. 2 visits from Carol. Not one question from my parents about what the doctors said I would need when I went home. Counting gave shape to something I had spent years trying not to see. My sister had received a new car when she was 17. I bought my first one from a family friend and spent weekends learning how to keep it running. When she fell behind on rent, my parents called it a rough season. When I struggled after my divorce, they called it a lesson in responsibility. Whenever the family needed money, they said I always knew how to figure things out. Whenever I needed help, they said I was the strongest one. I used to take that as a compliment. Now I understood it differently. Sometimes a child is praised for being independent when she is not being given freedom at all. She is only being told that her needs are inconvenient. I had become the invisible structure holding everything up, the one who remembered due dates, the one who drove people to appointments, the one who quietly covered a bill before the lights were turned off. No one ever asked whether the structure was cracking. A physical therapist began preparing me for discharge. She showed me how to rise from a chair without pulling at the incision. She taught me to hold a pillow against my stomach when I coughed. She explained the warning signs of infection and told me I would not be allowed to drive for a while. Then she said someone should stay with me for the first few days. "I have help," I told her. The words came out too quickly. I had not asked anyone. I was ashamed to say that no one had offered. That afternoon, I looked at the dates on the menu cards and made a decision. I would not call my family while I was weak and crying. I would not let them use my pain as proof that I was dramatic. I wanted to remember everything clearly. The truth was becoming simple. I was not valued because of who I was. I was valued because I was useful. And every time I said I was fine, they treated it like permission to leave me alone. On the 31st day, the discharge nurse placed a packet of instructions beside my bed. "Who will be picking you up?" she asked. I looked at my phone for a long time. The nurse glanced toward the doorway, perhaps expecting someone to appear. No one did, and neither of us pretended otherwise. Then I said, "I'll call a ride." At the hospital entrance, I watched other people leave in pairs and groups. One husband helped his wife into a coat. A son pulled the car close for his father. 3 relatives argued over who would carry the medication bag. I stood alone with a pillow pressed to my stomach and a plastic bag in one hand. When the rideshare driver arrived, he looked toward the doors behind me. "Do you need me to call someone to help you inside?" "No," I said. "It's just me." The apartment was exactly as I had left it. The basil plant on the windowsill had dried into brittle stems. Mail pushed against the door. The coffee cup from the morning I collapsed was still in the sink. Inside the refrigerator, the milk had expired. There were 2 bottles of water and nothing worth eating. No groceries, no flowers, no card. Not one sign that anyone had entered during those 31 days. I was too weak to climb the stairs, so I lowered myself into the recliner and stayed there until morning. The hospital had shown me that my body had nearly died. The apartment showed me that something else had died earlier. It was the belief that, if things became serious enough, my family would finally show up. The first weeks at home were slow and humiliating. I ordered groceries and asked the driver to place them inside the door. I used a long-handled grabber whenever I dropped something. Denise called to check on me, though she was no longer responsible for my care. Carol brought soup one afternoon. Before leaving, she said my parents were giving me space. I did not understand what that meant yet. Each morning, I wrote a short list. Take the medication. Walk 3 laps through the living room. Check my temperature. Do not call people who had not called me. On my first night home, I made 3 promises. I would stop confusing blood with care. I would stop paying for the feeling of belonging, and the next time my family needed something, my answer would not automatically be yes. 31 days after my discharge, my mother sent the message about the dress. She said my sister had found the perfect one. The boutique needed $12,000 by Friday. She reminded me that I was the person the family could always count on. I looked at the hospital pillow, still resting in the recliner. Then I opened my banking app and sent $1. Good luck. The next morning, I had 11 missed calls from my mother, 6 messages from my father, and a string of texts from my sister. She said I had humiliated everyone. She said I was jealous. She said I was turning her wedding into a story about myself. I did not answer. 2 days later, my father called. Part of me still hoped he might apologize. Instead, he said, "Your mother is deeply hurt. How do you explain that $1? I tightened my grip on the phone. "Before we talk about $1, I said, "I want you to explain 31 days. "Before we talk about $1, I said, "I want you to explain 31 days. The other end went quiet. I heard the television volume drop. Then my father let out a slow breath, as if I were the one making the conversation difficult. In the past, that sound would have worked on me. If he said my mother was hurt, I would apologize before anyone answered for what they had done. This time, I stayed with the question. Did he know I had needed a second procedure? Did he know the doctors were worried about a serious infection? Did he know I had taken a rideshare home alone? Did he know the hospital had told me someone should stay with me after discharge? He admitted he did not know most of it. "We didn't realize it was that serious," he said. "You didn't realize because you never asked." He told me they had all been busy. The wedding was less than 3 months away. My mother had appointments, deposits, fittings, and calls to make. "All 3 of you were busy for 31 days?" he said. My mother did not like driving far at night. The hospital was 40 minutes away. During that same month, she drove more than an hour to a bridal boutique. His voice hardened. He said, "I always turned everything into a ledger, like the family was being audited. They called me cold whenever I remembered exactly what they wanted me to forget. Some families do not solve conflict. They choose the person most likely to feel guilty, then pressure that person to make peace so everyone else can remain comfortable." Before I could answer, I heard movement, and my mother took the phone. She did not apologize. She said I was rewriting history. According to her, I had told everyone not to make a fuss. She claimed they were only respecting my need for space. For a moment, I could not speak. "I begged you to come," I said. I left a voicemail saying I did not want to be alone. Her answer came quickly. She said I had been on strong pain medication and probably did not remember what I had said. Then a message appeared from my sister. Mom told everyone you banned visitors. Don't pretend you didn't know. She had meant to defend our mother. Instead, she confirmed the lie. How many people did you tell? I asked. My mother said nothing. $1 is no longer your biggest problem. I ended the call. Being abandoned had hurt me. But having my mother turn that abandonment into my own choice gave the pain a different name: betrayal. I opened my saved voicemails. My weak hospital voice filled the room. Mom, please come. I don't want to be alone. At that exact moment, Carol texted me. I think it's time you saw what your mother wrote in the family group chat. If you are still listening, please leave a comment below and tell me how satisfied you are with the story so far. It helps me know that people are still walking beside me through this journey. Your presence gives me the encouragement to keep telling the final part. 2 days later, I sat at Carol's kitchen table with her phone between us. She had already opened the family group chat. Her hand rested beside the screen. I think you should read this yourself, she said. I started with the messages from my 3rd day in the hospital. My mother had written, "She's doing fine. She just needs rest." That was the same day a doctor warned me the infection might require another procedure. On the 8th day, one of my aunts asked whether she should bring food or sit with me. My mother answered, "Don't go. She gets stressed when people make a fuss." That evening, I had left the voicemail begging her to come. On the 13th day, my mother posted a picture from a bridal fitting. She was smiling beside my sister, holding champagne. Her caption said she was exhausted from taking care of so much for both daughters. She had not stepped inside the hospital once. On the 19th day, one of my uncles asked why no one had organized a visiting schedule. My mother replied, "Laura likes to control everything. We should respect what she asked for." I read that sentence twice. She had not only lied about my condition, she had made me responsible for my own isolation. Carol's face changed as she scrolled farther. My mother had told everyone she had created a private visiting schedule. Carol believed my parents and sister were coming on the days she was not there. Then we found another message. Carol is keeping an eye on her. Those 2 short visits had been turned into proof that my mother had arranged care. An effective lie is rarely built from nothing. It takes one small piece of truth, then builds a house around it large enough for everyone to hide inside without asking questions. Carol looked sick. "I thought they were all helping," she said. "I thought I was filling in." I believed her. For a few seconds, anger pushed against my ribs so hard that I wanted to post everything immediately. I wanted the family to see what she had done before she prepared another excuse. But I knew my mother. If I reacted while furious, she would call me unstable. If I raised my voice, she would make my tone the issue. If I cried, she would say the medication had confused me. So I slowed down. I asked Carol to take screenshots of the entire conversation. Every message, every date, every reply. I asked her not to tell anyone I had seen them. Then I had her send the images to a private folder. For the first time, I was not reacting to the story my mother had created. I was building a record of the truth. Carol set the phone down. "What are you going to do?" "First," I said, "I'm going to find something she can't call a faulty memory." The next morning, I called the hospital records department. The woman on the phone explained that some documents could be released through the patient portal, while others would take a few days. I asked for everything connected to my stay: discharge notes, social work notes, visitor records, anything that showed what had been happening while my family claimed I wanted to be left alone. When the first file arrived, I opened it at my kitchen table. One line from the social worker stopped me. Patient reports no available family support and expresses fear of recovering alone. I remembered that visit. I had been trying to sound calm while she asked who would help me at home. I had crossed out my mother's name because writing it down felt more dishonest than leaving the space blank. The visitor log was even simpler. Carol's name appeared twice. No mother. No father. No sister. Then I opened my phone and searched the messages I had sent from the hospital. "Mom, please call. They may need to take me back in. Can someone come tonight?" There was also the message to my sister about emergency surgery. Her only later response had been about the missing AirPods case. I saved screenshots of everything. Then I played the voicemail again. My own voice sounded weak and short of breath. "Mom, please come. I'm scared. I don't want to be alone." The evidence was not only for my relatives, it was for me. When someone has been dismissed long enough, she does not only argue with the person who is lying, she argues with the part of herself that has been trained to believe every feeling is too much, every memory is exaggerated, and every wound is somehow her fault. While I worked, the pressure continued. My father texted that my silence was dividing the family. My mother wrote that a good daughter would never humiliate her sister before a wedding. My sister sent a picture of the dress and warned that the deposit would be lost if the balance was not paid by Friday. Even her fiancé contacted me. He called the situation a family misunderstanding and suggested I act like an adult. I answered none of them. I saved every message. I no longer needed to prove that they were bad people. I only needed to prove that the story they had told was false. At first, I wrote a long statement. It was full of anger, dates, memories, and everything I had swallowed for years. Then I deleted it. The truth did not need a speech. It needed a few clear sentences and records that could not be argued with. That evening, Carol added me back to the family group chat. Names filled the screen. People who had believed I wanted no visitors. People who had stayed away because my mother told them to. I attached the files. Then my finger hovered over the send button. My finger stayed above the send button for several seconds. I could hear the clock in my kitchen. Nothing dramatic happened in the room, yet my whole body felt as if it were standing at the edge of something. Then I pressed send. My message was short. I never asked anyone to stay away. I asked for help more than once. Attached are the messages, the voicemail, the social worker's note, and the visitor log from the 31 days I spent in the hospital. Everyone deserves to know that the story they were told was not true. I will not argue about records that have dates, times, and names. I attached one voicemail clip, one screenshot from the hospital file, the visitor log, and the message where my mother told the family that I had banned visitors. I did not post my entire medical history. I posted enough. The proof did not shout, it simply sat there, calm and complete, where everyone could see what had been hidden. Then I left the group. For a few moments, the apartment was completely quiet. I put my phone in the kitchen drawer and went outside for the slow walk my physical therapist had told me to take each day, one block, then another. Careful steps, steady breathing. For the first time, I did not feel responsible for managing everyone else's reaction. Dignity is not staying silent so other people can remain comfortable. Sometimes dignity is telling the truth once, clearly, and refusing to stand there while the person who hurt you tries to negotiate it. Carol called later that afternoon. She said my mother had responded almost immediately. First, she claimed I had misunderstood her. Then she said she had only been protecting my privacy. Finally, she blamed the pain medication and said my memory could not be trusted. One of my aunts answered before anyone else could. The voicemail was not on pain medication. The dates were not confused either. An uncle who had planned to help pay for the wedding venue asked why he had been told I was doing fine when the hospital records showed I had needed another procedure. The questions kept coming. Not insults. Questions. The kind my family had avoided for years. By evening, Carol told me that one uncle had withdrawn $3,000 he had promised toward the dress. An aunt no longer wanted to host the bridal shower. Another couple backed out of guaranteeing the venue deposit. I had not asked anyone to do those things. The truth had simply changed what they were willing to support. My sister left a long voicemail. She cried, blamed me, and said I had ruined everything. I listened to the entire message. Then I deleted it. The next morning, someone pounded on my front door. When I looked through the window, my sister was standing on the porch. My sister was still wearing the cream blouse and fitted pants she had chosen for a bridal appointment. Her makeup was careful, but her eyes were swollen. When I opened the door, she did not say hello. "Are you happy now?" I kept one hand on the doorframe and did not invite her inside. That small choice surprised both of us. For years, family had entered my home as if it belonged to them. They brought problems, bills, and expectations. I made coffee. I found solutions. I made room. Not that morning. She said I had embarrassed everyone. She said I was jealous because my own marriage had ended. According to her, I had turned her wedding into another story about the hospital. Then she defended our mother. She said Mom had only wanted to protect me from curious relatives. Nobody had understood how serious my condition was. The whole thing had been a misunderstanding. She said the dress could be sold to another bride if the balance was not paid by Friday. I listened until she ran out of explanations. Then I asked one question. "During those 31 days, did you ever ask Mom whether I was still alive?" Her face tightened. "Mom said you were fine. And that was enough for you not to wonder?" She looked away. For the first time, she could not place all the blame on our mother. She had a phone. She had my number. She had seen my message about emergency surgery. She had chosen not to ask. Her voice became harder. She reminded me that I had money. $12,000, she said, would not change my life. "No," I said, "but giving it to you would say that the way all of you treated me has no consequences." Greed does not always look like someone grabbing what belongs to another person. Sometimes it is the belief that someone else must keep sacrificing simply because she has sacrificed before. "I did not ruin your wedding," I said. "I stopped financing a version of this family where I stay quiet so you can keep getting what you want." She demanded that I delete the records, apologize to everyone, and send the money. I told her no. I would not pay for the dress. I would not attend the wedding. I would not continue direct contact for the time being. If anything necessary had to be discussed, it needed to be in writing. I did not need her to admit I was right. Freedom did not depend on her understanding me. As she walked away, she said I would regret it when I had no family left. I closed the door and listened to the quiet house. The truth was, I had been living without their support for years. 3 weeks later, the wedding still took place. I did not go. That morning, however, I found an envelope from my mother resting against my front door. I stood in the doorway, looking at the envelope. My mother had written my name in the careful handwriting she used for birthday cards. For a moment, I considered leaving it unopened. Then I carried it to the kitchen table. Inside was a simple card. "I am sorry things became so difficult. I hope that one day you can put this behind you so our family can return to normal." I read it twice. She did not say she had lied. She did not say she had abandoned me. She did not admit that she had stopped other people from visiting, or questioned my memory when the truth became inconvenient. She was not asking for forgiveness. She was asking me to clear away the consequences so she could have her old life back. Some apologies ask the injured person to do more work for the person who caused the harm. That is not remorse. It is another demand in softer language. I placed the card back in the envelope. I did not answer. Later, Carol told me the wedding still happened. My sister bought a sample dress for less money. The ceremony moved to a smaller hall. Some relatives attended, but fewer people contributed. The wedding was not destroyed. No life was ruined. My family simply had to celebrate within the limits they could afford, without using my money to protect the image they wanted. A few months passed. My strength returned slowly. I joined a walking group for people recovering from surgery. Carol came over for coffee each month. Denise still sent an occasional message asking whether I was eating well. Then one rainy afternoon, a friend drove 40 minutes to bring me soup when I caught a cold. I told him he did not need to do that. He looked confused. That is what people do when they care about someone. The sentence stayed with me. I still think about the chair beside my hospital bed. For a long time, I believed its emptiness proved I was not worth showing up for. Now I understand it proved something else. I had been waiting for the wrong people. I no longer measure my value by who refused to sit in that chair. I measure family by the people who sit down without being begged, paid, or reminded. I once thought I lost my family during those 31 days. The truth is, I lost the belief that blood automatically creates loyalty. Family is the person who answers when you say you are afraid, the person who walks through the door because you matter. I did not send $1 for revenge. I sent it because my dignity could no longer serve as an emergency fund for people who remembered me only when they needed something. Do you think sending $1 and revealing the truth was too harsh, or was it the answer they deserved? Were you satisfied with how this story ended? Please share your thoughts below.